Hello and welcome to Who Books That with Harrison Greenbaum. I'm your host, Harrison Greenbaum, and it's so nice to see you guys again. As you might have noticed, we did not have an episode last Wednesday, and that's because the International Brotherhood of Magicians, in support of all the people of color in our community, the magic community, and as well as the community at large, we paused our show to allow the amplification of the voices that were protesting and fighting for change, desperately needed change. And although there is still a lot of work to be done, we hope that this hour or so episode will bring a little levity and a little rest during a crazy, crazy time. So thank you for sticking with us. We really, really appreciate it. And as always, we are proudly presented by the International Brotherhood of Magicians. If you'd like to join, or you're already a member, but you'd like to renew your membership, it's so easy. Just go to magician.org/join-the-IBM /join. So magician.org/join the IBM/join. And you can do that right there. It's a fantastic organization. It's the reason this show exists. So you should absolutely do that. And this show is every Wednesday. Yes, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, 4 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. And it's also available as a podcast on Apple Music. So just go to whobookstat.com. You can click on the link. You can download all the previous episodes as podcasts. We really appreciate it if you leave a 5-star review. Unbelievably, this show is in the top 100 in the performing arts category for Canada. So we got a big, how you doing, Canada? Very excited that you're fans. We're in the top 200 in both the UK and the US. So that's in large part because you guys have been so supportive and so amazing. So definitely keep leaving those reviews and downloading it. We're glad you can access these episodes on the go. Although where are you going? We're all locked in, but some of you are not. We'll find out. But anyway, we are now up to the episode, and I could not be more excited. This guy, there's a Yiddish word that my family, we don't throw around lightly, which is mensch. And a mensch is somebody who's just a good person through and through. And when I say that this guest is a mensch, I truly mean it. Us Greenbaums don't just call anybody mensches. This guy, I remember I was getting ready to go on the Unbelievables, which was a tour of all of Australia, the Sydney Opera House. We were going Melbourne at Hamer Hall, which is a giant, I think it's 2,000 or 3,000 seats. We're going literally all over Australia. And when I found out that Jay Johnson was also going to be in the show, that's honestly what sold it for me, because the opportunity to tour with such a legend was something that I could not turn down. It didn't hurt that we were going to Australia during the winter, and it was beautiful there. But here's a couple of pictures, by the way. Our last show, I took a bunch of backstage pictures. This is one of my favorite pictures of Jay and I, and also one of just my favorite pictures ever. So that's this one right here. Which is great because I always open my mouth in a photo, and that's Bob also doing it, and Jay, of course. He's one of the best ventriloquists of all time. I think I can say that. He's the only Tony Award winner that is also a ventriloquist, the only ventriloquist to ever win a Tony Award. He is one of the stars of Soap, a seminal and classic TV sitcom. He's been all over television, CSI. He was in Broken Badges in the 90s. He tours all over the world. I am so excited to have him here. This is a very long intro, and I'm glad he's been patient. Make some noise. Get excited for one of my favorite people on the planet. It's Jay Johnson, everybody. Jay Johnson.
Thank you and good night. Who can live up to that? Oh my God.
We did it.
But now, Harrison, you have to do the introduction. The extra gave me maybe the first time at Tamworth. You mentioned all those things, and you said, but he's 30 years older, so I have time to do it myself.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Now I have slightly less time, so we'll see. I haven't closed the gap at all.
Who can in these days? What weird times.
It's been insane. And Bob, I think, played a cop at one point.
Oh, he did. We played, but keeping with the times, we played cops that had mental problems. You know, we were called TARPs, temporary assigned restricted personnel. So yeah.
Yeah, I also remember this was one of our other backstage picks was Shin and Brett. That was super fun.
Oh man, what great guys. We were kind of the four, at least the three Stooges. Sometimes Shin would come, but Shin had his girlfriend, so he was mostly with help me with their name.
Casey.
God.
Yes. I think at one point we referred to ourselves as the Talkies because we three were the only talking acts in the whole show.
That's right. The Unbelievables was such a weird combination of circus and comics and a formal dance, dance theater and dance competition, and everybody got along. Everything was great. I wish the show had been a little more put together well, so we could still do it.
I know. Oh man. I mean, any opportunity to tour with you, I would jump on it in a second. But let's go all the way back. That's the end, but let's go to the beginning, which is you're in school. Walk us through how you pick up your first figure and how you get enchanted with the art of ventriloquism.
Well, it actually happened when I was quite young, but I don't think I knew what I was doing at the time. You know, it's one of those things that if you do something you like, you never work a day. But my mother used to disconnect the telephone and I would talk to the telephone. And I guess part of my playing with the telephone was having a voice come back. So one day she thought I had gotten somebody by mistake and she said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry," and realized there was no one there. So I was about 5 or 6 when that happened. Then Jerry Mahoney came out, you know, Paul put out Jerry Mahoney as a little puppet. And so he inspired me to get one of his little Jerry Mahoney's, about 11 years old. So, yeah.
I have a picture, I think, from that time. That's the youngest picture I could find of you, Jay.
This was my first. That's my first crush. Her name was Kathy Kerr. She lived up the street. Every year in Abernathy, that's about 5 or 6, I guess. Halloween, they would have the harvest pageant, you know, and the Halloween celebration, and they would crown the harvest king and queen, and we were the crown bearers. You know, we brought the crowns out, and not sure how I got elected. Maybe, you know, I was young and willing. But anyway, yeah, Kathy, I don't know what happened to her, but she was sure a cutie back then.
Well, that was acceptable because you were also her age, so it's totally fine.
Yeah. Now it's a little creepy for me to say that, I realize, so I won't say that.
I found this one as well. There's I feel like you were in the cast of Scooby-Doo at this point. Were you looking for Velma?
With that kerchief on, for sure, I was Scooby-Doo. Now I'm standing next to the older gentleman. That's Charles R. Meeker Jr. And he really gave me my start at Six Flags Over Texas. He was the producer director. He's pouring champagne for David Wiley, who was a singer in the show, and eventually we went on to become friends and roommates in Georgia and Six Flags Over Georgia. Anyway, a lot of great things. But that man probably did more for me than I will ever know, you know, as far as career-wise. Nice man. Died when I first came out to LA in the 70s. So.
But and take us back to that time. So did you know you were going to be a ventriloquist from the beginning? Did you have any other jobs, or was it straight into the art as soon as you were ready?
You know, I'd never had any legitimate jobs. I mean, that's either a great thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but yeah, that's high school. So I had that flat top a lot too long. Very so it kept girls away, so I could practice my puppets. You know, that's what happened.
I think you always had luxurious hair, which I was always very jealous of, because somehow you have way more of it than I do. Like, here's an example where, I mean, that's just fantastic.
Now, that's Ken Berry, of course, who's been gone now a couple of years. And that was really the shot that was responsible for getting me to Los Angeles. Ken's manager was Richard O. Link. And I was doing this thing, and it was done in Fort Worth, Texas, Miss Teenage America. And his manager saw me and said, well, if you ever get to LA, you know, so I think, you know, I called him the next day and said, I'm on my way. So he was my first manager, and we got soap while I was with him. So, yeah. And he was also Andy Griffith's manager, and Andy and I got to be very close because of being managed with the same guy. And so that's a fortuitous picture. But the tuxedo, I think later Tony Clifton ripped off. I think that's what
I've worked with Tony. I think I recognize it.
Yeah, see, that's Tony Clifton, absolutely. And Tony Clifton did not have a matching little tuxedo that I know of, so I've upped it.
And the guy in the middle is Squeak.
That's Squeaky. That's the character I had all the way up through the first day of our first week of soap. And in my show, The Two and Only, I recreate the story that he was too sweet to be in the show. They thought his face was too nice, so they had an idea and they did Bob. So I became Bob's partner rather than Squeaky's partner. Squeaky's okay about it. He's fine with it. He retired early.
I remember watching the show. I managed to find a copy of it, and I remember just being in tears at multiple moments. And I'm not the biggest crier, you know me. I'm not, but I was in tears. And that moment, even though it's not a person, Squeaky is not real.
Yeah.
You do really bad for Squeaky.
Well, it's funny. You're talking about the two and only, and we recreate the Squeaky comes on, and I have to tell him that he didn't get the part. Is what you're referring to. And originally, that was just a joke. I just said, and Squeaky didn't get the part, and the show went on. And Jay Sandrich, who directed all the soap episodes, and really a wonderful man. There's the playbill. He said, "You've got to see that scene. You've got to see the scene where Squeaky doesn't get the job." And I said, "He's so close to Bob. I don't know if it'll work." And Bob's coming next in the show. So the minute we just tried it, that was the scene that came out. And so thank you, Jay Sandrich. Again.
And it's also that perfect moment of sometimes the best laugh comes right after the saddest moment. So it's super sad. And then Squeaky immediately goes, "You can get an effing chisel," I think is the line.
Yeah, when I tell him he's too sweet, he says, "Get a chisel." And that was always the word one in the show. Then they would say, "Well, no, this is a matinee. Are you going to say the F word for the kids?" And I go, "Well, yeah, probably." It's well considered. It's placed where I want it. I don't say it every 5 minutes. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's people always talk about it. It's like a spice. If you can put too much sriracha on something, but just a little kick, it's nice once in a while.
Yeah, I've got this.
I'd say as somebody whose act is covered in sriracha.
The sriracha comic.
Yeah.
My theory about expletives is that they do a power. The word itself has a power and has a meaning. But most of the time, it's only a timing device, My friend Harry Anderson had a joke where he would say, he would throw a deck of cards and say, "Shuffle the cards, shuffle the cards." And he would say, "Shuffle the cards." Well, ... could be almost any bad word that but it completes that da-da-da-da-da-da. Shuffle the da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da is funny. And so you add these words to make what might not be funny in timing work. That's my opinion. Sticking to it.
Yeah, and we alluded to this, but the idea that so you moved to LA, there's no way that there's a sitcom around the bend that's looking for a ventriloquist.
No way.
That seems. I mean, did they see a lot of ventriloquists, or did they know of your act and kind of write it around you?
No, it's a very interesting story, and I have to backtrack what happened like the year before Soap came on the air. There was a book called Magic by William Goldman, and somebody said, "You got to see it." So I thought it was about a magician, and I'm not a real fast reader, so it sat there for a while. And somebody said, "Did you like that Vent book?" So I read it, and it was the story of magic. And I took it to Dick Link, who was my manager, and I said, "They're going to make a movie out of this book. There's no doubt about it. And I want that part. I can play that part of Quirky. I know him." So he actually called and got around and had Norman Jewison directed the movie, which he didn't do. He had to move on. But I
think that should be my nickname. If they can't call me Harrison, Jewison works pretty well.
There you go. Harrison Jewison. So I didn't get the part because some guy named Anthony Hopkins got it. I don't know.
Who?
But Susan Harris was writing Soap at the time. And she wanted this kind of weird character that was a little bit dark and was originally going to kill his brother. And she put that exact description into the Bible of Soap, and eventually it found me through open auditions and everything else. It just eventually came to me. So yeah.
I'm getting a comment from a couple of people about the volume. So if there's any way to, I guess, move a little bit closer, so I want to make sure everybody can hear you. And while you do that, this is one of the cast photos of from Soap, the full cast. And then here is another one for the season. Did the costume department at least help you with Bob's outfits?
Oh, listen, that was one of the roughest things about Soap. Eventually, you can't buy that size, obviously. So what they would buy my size, fit me, and then buy a size twice as big as my size and cut it down. So every week was a specially made costume just for Bob. And this watch, I don't know if I could see it there, but at the time I had a Mickey Mouse watch, and they said, "We'd like to get a Mickey Mouse watch for Bob. Where'd you get that?" And I said, "At Disneyland." Well, it was one of those $800 Mickey Mouse watches, that. And so they said, here's your new Mickey Mouse watch. Yeah, so yeah. So did that correct the volume? I hope it did.
I think so. Absolutely. And Rick Jenkins, who is the owner of the Comedy Studio, one of my favorite clubs in Boston, said, "Wow, never heard of curse words used for timing purposes. Great point." So that's awesome.
It's always, isn't it, Harrison? Always the timing.
You also gave me great advice on the Unbelievables, because one of the things we were going up against was they kept changing the amount of time that we were doing on the show. And you gave me one of the greatest analogies, which is that an act that has comedy, especially built in with audience interaction, is an accordion. I don't know if you want to speak more to that, but that was brilliant.
Well, you know, if you don't play to the timing of that audience, if you don't play to that audience in the moment, then they might as well go see a film. So what you really have to do, if you get a laugh, if you can make the laugh bigger and bigger at that moment. Now, the next laugh that was bigger last time might be smaller, but it's going to accordion. And if you don't account for that, I think you're losing not you personally, but I think a person is losing what keeps live theater going. You know, that's why we go, is for that immediate, this guy's controlling us, you know, love it.
Yeah. And in terms of being in soap, I mean, first of all, you did the thing that I used to dream of, which was being in Mad Magazine, which is amazing.
It was the first time my brother thought I had done okay with my choice of career, because he was a big Mad Magazine. And the fact I ended up on caricature and soap, he said, in Mad, he said, you've made it, brother. You've made it. So I said, okay, I'll take that.
And the other thing is, Bob is now in the Smithsonian. Was there ever a chance that you were going to get to keep Bob and they were going to take a duplicate? Or because the one that you're using is not the one that the Smithsonian has, the original one, I believe.
Right. The actual on soap, we actually used two different Bobs. The first Bob, because they didn't use squeaky, they kind of made him in a hurry, and there were some problems with mechanics and stuff. So when I realized I was going to stay around a while, I got my guys in and we designed one that was a little easier. And then even one more that I used for our tour that I use now and use on Broadway. It's the third generation of Bob, but it's more to my liking. But yeah, so the original is in the Smithsonian. I still have the copy, and I've still got the third. So 2 more museums to go, I guess. I don't know.
No, and you also got to do something that I also dream of, which is appearing on game shows.
Yeah, I love that. And I tell you why, because you got the exposure, but you didn't have to burn any material, you know? They gave you questions and you just had to answer them real time. There's no rehearsal. You walk in, you hope you do the best. And yeah, that was my $20,000 pyramid. But now in this, Harrison, I don't know if he told you this story or not, but this may be the picture of the actual show. I gave an incorrect clue at the top of the $20,000 or $100,000 mark. We had one to go, and I gave, but by the time that the judge said bad clue, the sound man had hit the winner's button.
Oh no!
The commercial comes, long commercial. They keep looking at me. Dick Clark comes over and says, "Don't think it's going to hold," and they took it away from the guy.
Oh no!
On the air, yeah. They said.
But then, did you redeem yourself with that guy?
What's that?
Did you then redeem yourself with that guy? Because you get to come back, right?
Well, what happened? It was like in the middle of a show, so he switches partners, and I think they made sure he got to the winner's circle today. And he was cool with it, you know. He won his, but the next time, and then the next time I got to the winner's circle, we won. So it was a good day all around. But never happened before. They told me it was a difference between doing it in New York and LA, because in New York, the guy who was the judge had the button, and in LA, the prop man or sound man had the button. So by the time you could say bad clue, we had already won, you know. So just loved game shows.
Yeah, and somebody said, "Is this a young Amar?" Which he's been on the show, but minus the mustache, it could be. It could be a young Michael Amar. And in terms of prep, is Hollywood Squares, is that one? Do you get to prep a little bit more for that one, or are you also riffing that entire thing?
Well, what they do on that, and Hollywood Squares was never my vehicle, but I got to tell you, right down there on the lower left, that's my friend and neighbor who just passed away a couple of weeks ago, Fred Willard, and his daughter Hope. Hope is a very good friend of mine, and that's where we met, is right there on that show that was taped in Vegas. What works best on Hollywood Squares is they give you a question, you have a joke answer, they laugh, and then you give the real answer, they vote on it. For me and Bob, it would go question. We had to kind of hit us the joke back and forth and then throw it back. So it was always like instead of it was like and back, you know. But they give you the bluffs. They don't give you the answers, but you can figure out that, okay, that the joke answer would be 2 plums, you know. And you go, how does that relate to anything? But the joke was really to figure out where the jokes went, you know, because they had written it for you. Didn't tell you the answers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then let's fast forward a little bit, because you already established yourself as sort of a seminal ventriloquist, where I think there's also a lot of people who watch those shows who were budding ventriloquists who were inspired by that. But then you mount the Two and Only on Broadway. What is that decision-making process? Was it just you woke up one day and said, I'm going to do a Broadway show? Or walk us through getting the idea and then essentially, and then getting to the point where you win a Tony, which is the pinnacle.
Who could even think about that? But the Two and Only, actually, I can't remember a time that I didn't want to do a theater show. I mean, club shows are great. I love club shows, love industrials, love corporates, love all that. But when you step into a theater, it's that's what theater was made for, was that building. I used to call it the church. You know what? You go to church. So in my mind, I'd always wanted to do that. And I would get something and somebody would go, oh, we can help you. Nothing would ever happen. Another guy, oh, we can do that. So finally, 2 people, Paul Kreppel and Murphy Cross, came and said, you should do a one-man show. I said, yeah. And I kind of went, yeah, you and your uncle. So we started just brainstorming and writing on 3x5 cards. And eventually those cards began to take some sort of shape and acts and places to put them. And it sat there for 3 months. And finally, Murphy Cross called me one day. She said, what does it take to get this going? And I said, well, knowing me, somebody will say, we've got a theater booked in 2 weeks. You better have the show ready. And she called back and she said, well, we've got the show booked in 4 weeks. She did call it up. And from that moment, we just kept working on it. And, you know, one thing leads to another. And we end up, there's the set of the Two and Only on Broadway.
And it's a beautiful show. I mean, was it harder to do the serious moments or the comedy moments, or were they both kind of difficult?
Well, both have their own ways of prepping. But what I loved about the theater is that you can paint with those dark colors. You know, in a club, what is it, Harrison? You would know. Every 10 seconds you have to have.
Yeah, I would say every 10 to 20 seconds you need to laugh, probably.
You got to do that. So there is no time to take a story into the dark part, like you say, where you might cry and get a bigger laugh coming up. But in a theater, that's exactly what they're looking for. And so I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I had done some acting as a kid, and always acting and ventriloquism, kind of the 2 things I love to do the most. So, yeah. And eventually, you know, all you do on Broadway is just try to keep that show open and try to keep it running. You know, that's all you're doing, is trying to get people in there. And the idea of winning anything is just, you know, that would be nice, but how can we stay open? And there was a great category called Best Special Theatrical Event. Oh, there's Sandy.
Yeah. That's Jay's wonderful wife, for those who don't know, but she's also amazing.
She's great. She just finished 12 years. This was a year ago that she was on The Big Bang Theory, and they just wrapped a year ago. So she spent the last 12 years being Kaylee Cuoco on the Big Bang Theory. So, yeah. And I've been, like you with Emily, I've been stuck with her for now, you know, longer than that, but really close for the last 3 months. And I think it's going to work out.
You've done it. You finally made it work.
No alimony here. Oh, well, there's the Tony. Well, yeah. Wait a minute. Looks just like that one. I placed myself to do that.
Do you ever find yourself playing with it? Because I feel like it's the only big trophy that rotates. So it's got to be fun that it spins.
You're probably not going to hear me, but here it's like, it's like, mirror. There you go. And
that's amazing.
And the windows, and that side has got all my name and stuff on it. And this is the actual thing. And this is the thing. And the coolest thing is, I keep right there, and my actor friends will come over and go, that's really a Tony? I go, yeah, it's really a Tony. And they'll go for it like this to spin it. And I'll say, there's a rumor, a superstition that if you ever touch a Tony that's not yours, you can never have one. And that's great. They go, oh yeah, well I don't believe in superstitions. All this background.
That would explain all the dents.
Yes, exactly. Boom.
And one of the things that's got to, another accomplishment that as a theater kid, you got your Sardi's cartoon, which is got to be a pretty fun moment as well.
Well, see, a lot of people think that is not so much my Sardi's cartoon as John Tesh's cartoon. Bob's image.
It's John Tesh and a smaller John Tesh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can only hope for that Dick Tracy jaw like that. I don't know. And I tell you, it's a big ceremony. Everything in New York is a ceremony. And so when they unveiled that, it's all covered. You don't know what it is. And they've got the owner of Sardi's and somebody from Equity and the press there and everything. And they go, okay, here it is. And everybody went, oh.
But you have to act like they nailed it.
Oh, yeah, of course. You got to go, oh, yeah, boy, great likeness of Bob. Great likeness of Bob.
I hope if I ever do mine, it's terrible. And then I still have to be like, yeah, that's weird. I don't remember having only one eye, but sure, that's fine.
And the last time I was at Sardi's, they have that picture, where the busboys put all their dishes and stuff like that.
Nice.
New York is not.
I had this giant photo of me in a comedy club in New York, and I was so happy. And I remember bringing somebody to be like, look, I'm on the wall of the club finally. And right before I brought that person to the club, they'd moved it to right over the bathroom.
Of course.
And I looked like I was smelling something in that photo. I had this face on like this. So it looked like I could actually smell what was going on in the bathroom and was reacting.
Oh man. Yeah, they'll do that to you. You're up in a comedy club. There you go, but who knows?
One of the things, though, I know you've been unbelievably influential to ventriloquists your entire career. There are surprise guests on every Who Books That. As much as I can try, as much as I can do it. This first guy, it's his birthday, and you were one of his biggest inspirations. He is one of the biggest ventriloquists in the world. Make some noise, get excited. It's Terry Fator, everybody.
Happy birthday.
Jay.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I
Wow,
only knew it's because of Facebook, and I said I should call, but I'm preparing for this. So aren't you sweet?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I tell you, Jay, you will never know what an inspiration you've been to an entire generation of ventriloquists. I mean, I used to watch soap as often as I could. My parents wouldn't let me. I was too young at the time because the material. Yeah. But the funny thing was that anytime you were on, they'd say, he's back on, and I'd run back in and I would watch you. And then, of course, when they started showing soap on Nick at Night, I started recording them and playing them. And, your technique is so incredibly good that, it gave all of us younger ventriloquists something to aspire to. So amazing. And the two and only, one of the greatest shows, and I'm not just saying those are the greatest shows I've ever seen. I've seen it like 10 times. It really is spectacular and amazing.
I say thank you, not for anything personal. I think at some point, sometimes what you do takes on a life of itself. That did that, and I can look at it and say, wow, I'm glad I was part of that. Not feeling a lot of, I was there. I did it. It was just
wow. Just incredible. So Terry, thank you. Yes.
I started to tell you about two ventriloquists. True story. Ron Lucas. Years ago, Ron and I were going to go to do something together. We're going to meet at the airport. And I was at the gate. And suddenly I hear, Jay, the best distant voice I have ever heard in my life. And I know that he's right there next to me and he's doing this. I'm not going to look over and give him the satisfaction. Jay, and I finally look around and he's not there. He really was on the other side of it. It was a real distant voice. So, of course, perfect, but I wouldn't even answer it.
That's fantastic. And his distant voice is unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, I've had people play jokes on me when I was at the ventriloquist convention. You know, they'd say my name from far away, and it's pretty amazing. You know, because a lot of people don't know, if you're not a ventriloquist, when you're doing the distant voice, it doesn't sound anything at all like somebody yelling from away. No, so you have to actually teach yourself to react to it.
Yeah, interesting. Great way to put it, Terry. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Yeah. You never yourself as you hear it. So great.
Exactly.
What have you done for your birthday? What's going on here?
You know, just kind of just relaxing, chilling. My wife is going to make me my favorite dish that she makes, which is chicken fried steak fingers, mashed potatoes, and she does this pea casserole where it's kind of peas and onions, and she fries it in a pan. It's amazing. And then we're going to play Animal Crossing. So anybody play Animal Crossing?
What is that?
For people out there who will visit your island, absolutely.
Yes, it's a Nintendo Switch, and it's a game. And the funny thing is, my wife never played video games, and I got this for her. And it started on March 20th, which was right when they did the whole lockdown thing. And now my wife plays. If she has the day off, she plays 12 hours. She loves it. So.
I love that. Here, I thought you were here to celebrate Jay, but this is just a ploy to get more turnips.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
We can always use our thing. We can use our opportunities. So there you go.
Yeah, but I'm using the time to, every week I put out a new music video. Today I put out "Shower the People" with my turtle singing it, and also Julius, my puppet. So yeah, check out my my YouTube, and I'm gonna post it on my Facebook tomorrow. So. But if you just and really, I'm doing videos just to kind of lift people's spirits, you know, as that's what we need to be doing, is lifting people's spirits. But
exactly,
you know,
right.
Jay, you just never know what an inspiration you've been, and you're also an amazingly wonderful man. So I really appreciate knowing you. It's one of my great honors to be a friend of yours. So
you know, that goes both ways. And it was your show that I finally reconnected with my friend Fred Willard, who lived across the street, because coming to was it your 10th year? 100th show? I don't know.
Yes.
And
it was. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, Fred Willard was Fred Willard. He was a little bit spacey. His wife, Mary, and I'd seen Fred 100 times in the neighborhood. Hey, Fred. Oh, you live there? Oh, great. Hey, Fred. Oh, Jay, you live there? Okay. At your show, Mary said, "You live across the street?"
That is so funny. You know, I asked Fred last year. I was getting a whole new Christmas show, and I called him up and I said, "Fred, would you play the part of a casino executive, and you're kind of giving me advice on what how to change my show and what the casino wants me to do?" And he was so funny. And we're actually going to continue using him as that casino executive. And one of my favorite lines was, he says, "You know, your show needs a new name. We need to get people in. I think we should call your show Celine Dion in Concert." And I said, "I'm not Celine Dion." And he goes, "Once we get their money and get them in there, who cares?" So he was such a funny guy. And I'll be keeping that in my Christmas show. Once things open up again, I'm hoping soon, in Vegas, I'll just, as an honor to Fred, he was such a dear man, such a wonderful guy. And Hope was so wonderful to work with. He put me in touch with Hope. Yeah, and so she just kind of helped arrange it, and she thanked me for helping him to do that. She said it really lifted his spirits. So he's a wonderful man, great guy.
He's missed around here, and
yeah, it's really a shame when somebody like him passes. But thank God we have video, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And also, you'll be one of the few Vegas shows where you'll be able to have less than 6 feet between you and the other person on stage.
That's right. Yes, and I keep telling them, it's okay. You can put me back on because I have a distance between the audience, and I can play for 50% or 25%, whatever you want. I just like to be in front of people. So, and I know you're the same way, right, Jay? Do you love performing like I do?
I'm sorry?
Do you love performing like I do?
Oh yeah, and it's been tough, as we all can attest to, not to have the opportunity to do it, because this is almost like being in retirement. Now I know what it's like, and okay, but I realize I can tolerate it, but
yeah, I could tolerate it. But I always said I want to be like Edgar Bergen, who did a show, went home, packed up Charlie, and never woke up. And I'm like, that's how I want to go to heaven. I want to do a show and then never wake up. That's how I want to end it, because I love performing. So,
but you'll get to heaven and say, "I didn't that show."
Yeah, exactly. There's that one guy. He just wasn't clapping my right.
Screwed me. That's wrong.
Let me go back down. I think I can get it on the next one. I swear.
Any entertainer knows exactly what you're talking about.
Terry, thank you so much for joining us. I don't want to keep you any more from your birthday celebration. Do you have any last words? I know I want to make sure I plug your Facebook one more time. He's coming out with great content all the time. Facebook.com/Terry Fator. Also, Twitter and Instagram @Terry Fator. Any last thoughts?
Just Jay, we love you and thank you so much for the inspiration. Again, you'll never know how many of us out here are doing what we do because of you. So thank you. Thank you for your hard work and just being a good man.
I appreciate that, Terry, and knock 'em dead. We'll be seeing you when we can. 6
You
feet
bet.
away.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Terry. Really appreciate it. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Terry Fator, everybody. That's fun.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's great.
And one of the things that we mentioned, but didn't go into detail. So there's a personal story, which is when I did Conan, I flew out to LA. It was my first late night appearance. I was so excited. And the only person I wanted to celebrate it with was Jay Johnson. And I remember the next morning you picked me up in your, I think it was the Mini Coupe.
Yeah.
And, Larry Miller came over to our table and joined our, and we both looked at each other at the end and we're like, were you going to ask for a picture? And it's like, I thought you were going to ask for a picture. And then we never got a picture of it.
No, it'd been so easy. Yeah. That was at Mexicali. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been to Mexicali, we've been to Muso's, and you and I have been to Casa Vega.
I think I have a picture of Casa Vega. Actually, we went with a magician who's been on the program before. I don't know why I say program like I'm a 90-year-old man, but this is there's John Carney.
John Carney.
But one of the things that had happened right before the Conan set, Harry Anderson had passed away, and I knew your best friend. And I remember I didn't know how to really address it, and I got in the car and I said, "I'm so sorry. It was the first time I had seen you since that happened." And you said the perfect Jay joke, which was, on the bright side, you move one up on the friend list.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Everybody moves up. Showbiz moves up. You know?
Yeah, exactly. But tell us a little bit about that relationship, because I know his career obviously also exploded on sitcoms. You guys were at different times. Here's a fun picture of you guys together. I don't think you were old enough in that for it to be in black and white. I think that was just an artistic choice. But here's one of my favorite pictures: is you guys cracking each other up, which is an amazing photo.
That's kind of the way we spent our relationship, was laughing at each other. And it's funny when you're looking back in your career, you say, how many people did I open for, and open for some of the big stars and everything. But for me, the list is who opened for me, because right as comedy clubs hit, I was a headliner without even going to the pecking order. And so some of my opening acts were Jerry Seinfeld and Gary Shandling, and Harry Anderson was one of them. And Harry and I we were just compatible. We just best friends like we'd always been, and from the day we met. So we actually met doing a show at the Lounge in Circus Reno. And I think they closed the club after we left and turned it into
I've been to Circus Reno. It's still there. It's like if Circus Las Vegas gave up.
Yes. And even back then, it was like what Harry got crazy about. We were right on the Lounge, right across from the progressive slots. And in Reno, if you hit the progressive slots, your gifts your prizes were a lighter, a little big lighter, or pantyhose, or a plush doll of the Pink Panther. And you got to choose. So we'd be doing our act, and suddenly they would go ding, 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 winner, carousel 4. So Harry got a Pink Panther, one of the Pink Panthers. He put pantyhose on it, and then, winner. He ran back and he lit the pantyhose on fire, and he says, "Here's your," and he threw it into the audience. I was all for it.
And you and Harry's family were very close, right? Like, I think his daughter is your goddaughter.
Yes, his kids are my godkids. My kids are his godkids, and we have. Oh yeah, there's Eva Faye right there. That's Eva. Oh my God. Now Eva's a big deal now. She's a big time writer, and she's doing Briar Patch and You're the Worst, and she's she's incredible. So she may employ us all someday.
Yeah, well, let's find out from her. Here's Eva Anderson, everybody.
No.
Hey, Jay.
You, lady.
Hey, how are you doing?
Well, I couldn't be happier now to see you.
This is awesome.
He's always working. So anyway.
We had one of those Pink Panthers at the house, and I think it was full of sawdust. So that was very dangerous.
Well, your father was not one to worry about the danger until after the joke. That was
for sure. Yeah. No, there's a lot of, like, in my baby photo album, there's a lot of photos of that specific doll that just was kind of lurking, I think, at the house with the pool table, Richland.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Eva, I'm sitting on the pool table that your mom and dad bought for the Richland house.
Oh, cool.
And I've had it for all this time. But Harry used to say you were conceived on this pool table. That's what he's telling me.
Perfect. Of course.
When I got the pool table, in one of the corners is the actual receipt. I don't know why. Harry
Wow.
So it's
and in the other corner is the pregnancy test.
It doesn't work out. The buying and the birth don't work out exactly right. So I'll keep telling people this, but just know that it doesn't work out.
How much did it cost?
Back then, I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
it was like the main piece of furniture in that house.
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Your dad would always spend all the money he had on the next thing, but
Mm-hmm.
what I loved about your dad was that he believed that wealth was a river, and you came and you just took what you needed, and it kept going, and you put some back, you took some, put some back, but it wasn't like I have to keep it all, and hopefully I don't run out, because he never thought that run out. That was just, if he had good work in the streets, he would tip the barber a lot more, get the shoes. He really had that sense of the flow of wealth.
Yeah, for sure. He would always make us keep money in our pockets for you had to tip every street performer, even if they were just one of those guys holding still. Everyone had to be tipped something, and so we always had to have cash on us my entire life, which I really love, and I still do.
Yeah.
And Eva was actually a prop in, this is an old Weenie magazine.
Oh yeah.
So if we close in, there is a very young Eva playing the part of Scott Free.
It's so funny. There's like a lot of photos of me in very dangerous situations. Like,
yeah, you look actually precariously tied up.
This is not the first time this had happened, but I was like always like handcuffed to things. Eating. There's one of me eating like a rubber hand. Just whatever was around the house. That's what we played with.
And speaking of your houses, I know you guys went back and forth to each other's houses. What was that like? Jay's house and Jay's kids coming to your house?
Yeah, I was talking to Harrison about this earlier, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's very funny to for my brother Dash and I to trade notes with Taylor and Brandon about how for each of us the other house was terrifying, because our house was we had like a baby coffin, and we had all these like freak show models of like Johnny Eck and things, and then yours was just like dangling lifeless event figures in every room. And it was just like, and each of us, we couldn't see it for ourselves. We'd just be like, what are you talking about? This is a normal house. And then we'd be like, this is evil. Especially you had like a very specific event figure room, right? Wait, tell the story about the monkeys. What's that story about the ant that was staying?
It was Aunt Edna, and she was maybe 90 at this point. And she was quite all with us, but my mother-in-law insisted on flying her down from Seattle so she could be at Christmas with us, and the only place to stay was in my office at the other house, which had all these puppets. And so the bed rolls out, and she, Maxine, the mother-in-law, I say, it's okay, Edna, it's okay. And she would sit both of them, she said, what is going on here? And they said, well, no, it's okay. Then she would go, finally, she said, you expect me to sleep in this room when there are half a dozen monkeys ready to jump on my head? So another thing here was to put towels over their face so that you didn't see the face, which to me was much creepier. Proud.
Totally.
But she was fine with it. Yeah. But half a dozen monkeys ready to jump on me was her line. So
Funny.
I was waiting for that story to end with, "It's a monkey joke."
oh, could have been. Yeah, we were just trying to, because she was so disoriented and anything but. So.
And by the way, our guest from last Monday, Mark Summers, is in the house. He said, "I am loving this. Used to work with Harry in the palace at the castle. Eva, how is your mom? Where is she these days?" And also asked about Dash. How's he doing?
Hi, Mark. Big fan. My mom lives in Ashland, Oregon. She's doing great. And my brother, Dash, is a high school teacher in Brooklyn. And he's been teaching the APs remotely and kicking butt at it. It's really an amazing service he's doing.
Yeah.
My parents told very lovely stories about Mark always when I would be watching him. I'd be like, he's great.
Mark was the warm-up guy on Soap.
Yes. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. He was not Mark Summers at the time, but he and
Mark Berkowitz.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
M Killer, I believe. That's why he changed his name. But yeah, he would, thankless job being the warm-up guy. Thankless. And it would go and go and go and go and go. And Mark would, be at that point where will they ever get on? And so I just wanted to band around Bob. So Mark knew the right cues and we would talk and have such a great time with him up in the audience. So I miss Mark. Yeah. And I liked his interview today. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and Eva sent me this photo. Eva, are you the child that Harry is holding?
Yeah. That's my little Miss Marker outfit.
This is the infamous left-handed league.
Yeah, and this is on Dash's wall in Brooklyn. He snapped it for me. He kept a piece of this history, and it's in his apartment, which is really cool.
Now, interesting enough, in that picture, I'm one of the left-handed league, but and there's the league. We were doing our show in Bakersfield or Tucson or something, anyway.
Oh, cool.
But I was the only one who wasn't left-handed, and the reason I got to be league was not only am I dyslexic, so I don't know, but Harry said, "Oh, you're left-handed because when you're working Bob, you only have this hand to work with, so you work left-handed." So I went, "Okay, I'm in."
You could find a loophole for anything.
Exactly. I have to tell, since Eva's here, we went back to Inishmere to scatter Harry's ashes about a year ago, almost to the day, and
yeah.
And was it just the Johnsons and the Andersons, or was there anybody else?
Well, there was also Turk and Christy Pipkin, who was the third bottle in the livestock productions. Turk.
Well, you know what? If we're going to talk about him, we should probably bring him in. Here's Turk Pipkin taking a little nap.
What? Hi. Have you heard the good news?
I feel like any moment Ralph Edwards is going to come back from the grave and say,
"Oh my God, that light's bright." Hi, Jay. Hi, Eva.
Hey, Turk.
Wow, the gang's all here. Jay, I got to say, I also, if we remember, I'm not left-handed and never was, but Harry said, "Oh, because you're a juggler, you're ambidextrous. So that makes you left-handed." So I think as it turned out, actually, no one in the left-handed league was left-handed. That's what we're doing.
Except for him.
Right, Harry was the only left-handed.
Harry was faking it.
Martin was left-handed.
He spent his whole life. That was his greatest con. He was right-handed.
Hey, Erica.
Erica Larson is in the house. And also, I heard from Turk that the reason that Jay, even though Turk and Harry are both Texans, that Jay was the conduit to introduce you guys to each other.
Jay and I are both Texans, and Harry.
Harry around, yes.
yeah, that's exactly right. Jay had already gone to LA, and I moved out there. I was kind of coming back and forth, and Harry, one of the first people Harry introduced me to out there. We'd been doing street shows kind of all over. First person he introduced me to really was Jay, and we just came our first television taping ever at Soap, and I think I ended up writing 100 hours of television, so maybe that was a big night for me.
Yep.
And one of the things that was so fun is I worked with Jay in Australia, and I went to go to the bathroom at Smoke and Mirrors Theater in Philadelphia, which is a fantastic magic venue. When things start coming back, definitely support it. It's a wonderful venue right outside of Philadelphia. And on the way to the bathroom, I encountered this poster, which I immediately texted to Jay of the whole left-handed league. Mike Caveney's in there, Tina Lenert, Martin Lewis, and of course, Turk, Jay, and Harry. And since we have the poster up, I think we might as well fill it out. Here's Martin Lewis and Mike and Tina as well, the whole left-handed league.
Oh my God, Martin Lewis has the David Letterman starter kit beard.
Yes, I'm going to think Charles Darwin. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I just don't shave between gigs, and so you can tell it's been a long time.
Who's booking that gig?
Yeah, really.
That's the name of the show.
Oh, and Harrison, I'm wearing my IBM pin for you.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we might have first met at the SAM convention back in January.
That's right. Yeah.
Source of the corona. We had a Chinese delegation that was that's another bunch of people got sick afterwards. So I think that might have been the root, ground zero.
They were right in the booth next to me in the dealer's room. I don't know.
So
and
Harrison,
Mike and Tina are in the house. Dana
Hi,
James
Mark.
is watching and said Caveney is left-handed. So let's confirm.
So is
Tina, are you left-handed or Martin as well?
Yeah, I'm left-handed.
Oh, there we go. So I guess it's Turk and Jay
Tina's
are maybe odd
left-handed.
men out. But I always felt alone as a left-hander. So as soon as I saw that it was called the Left-Handed League, I was like, these are my people. But what was it like?
Somebody,
I think we're waiting to see if Mike and Tina's microphone is on. Can they
yeah,
hear?
we're on.
Yeah,
We're on.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, Will, I'll be quiet for a second.
Oh,
So go ahead, Jay.
oh, well, I was just enjoying. I can't believe this. That the first time I see everybody and all this stuff has to be it's so close and so far. But this is the league.
yeah.
We should put on a
Great.
show. I
What's
said
that?
we should put on a show.
Great. We missed. It's a little early for Halloween, but maybe we can do a Halloween show. Bubonic Players Rise.
Yeah.
I think it's time to bring back Bubonic Players. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did want to tell one story that I think is very kind of funny. When Turk and Eva and I were in Ishmir, when Harry and I had been there before, the reason it was so great is because 3 years before, Elizabeth and Harry and Sandy and I had been there. Anyway, we had a driver of the little carriage named Bob, and his horse was Michael, I think. Anyway, couldn't find him. He wasn't there, so we had to get another guy to drive us around. So it was a very sad time, but I said to the driver, I said, do you know Michael and Bob? The guy that's around? Oh, yeah. He just passed. And I went, oh, my God. Awful. He died, and we heard, and he went, no, he just passed. And he just went by. It's like one of those.
That's amazing. I missed a trip to Israel, and my family told everybody that I was not with them, and so everybody kept thinking that the reason I wasn't on the trip was because I was no longer with them and had passed. But I have a bunch of photos of the Left-Handed League in action. I guess let's go round table. We'll start with Mike, go to Tina, and then Martin, and then Turk. But Mike, tell us a little bit about this photo and what it was like being part of the league.
Well, being part of the league was fantastic. I'm looking at this photo. That must be the magic shop at Phoenix.
No. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Wow.
Wasn't that the night they did the seance?
Yeah, they did a seance there. Yeah. What was that guy? What was that magic shop owner? Harry's good friend.
Yeah, I'm having a senior moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't end with a good story, though.
No, it has a very sad ending.
That was Jack.
Jack Sutherland.
Jack Sutherland.
Great guy.
Right, yeah.
He's
So,
no
yeah,
longer with us.
we did a weekend in Phoenix doing a show with the league there. It was great fun.
I think our big accomplishment was Weenie Magazine,
Yeah.
because we tore Genie Magazine apart, and it was quite controversial, which was nice.
And Eva Faye, no matter what more success you have in your life, to me, that photo will always be how I remember you.
I will always be young, scot-free.
Yes, you will. I'll tell you what else I remember that is such a great Eva Faye story is Harry was on the Merv Griffin show, and he did a set, and he had an old carpet bag, and he went over and sat down at the desk, and he put the carpet bag down, and he's talking to Merv, and he's talking to Merv, and talking to Merv, and then at one point, Merv said something, and Harry opened up the carpet bag and pulled you out. Shocking.
Yeah.
That you'd been sitting in there the whole time.
I can fill that out a little bit. Harry went out.
Turk was there.
Harry went out to the show. He went out, and he was wearing clown shoes, and in his fedora and his suit. And Merv said, "Is there anything you want to talk about? Tell us about?" And Harry says, "No." And Merv kept trying to get him to explain the clown shoes. And I walked out in a full clown regalia, but with no clown shoes, carrying the carpet bag, and sat there and tapped my foot and impatiently until Harry finally said, "Oh, all right," and gave me the shoes back for the carpet bag. And then Harry opened the bag, and Eva came out, and it was probably the loudest audience response I ever heard in my life.
And then Eva had the topper of all toppers. Merv, after his shock died down, said, "Well, how old are you, little girl?" And Eva said something like 4. And she said, "How old are you?" And just brought the house.
Yeah.
And Eva, do you remember that first question? And then second question, was that a line that was off the cuff, or was that something you knew to say?
Improv.
Turk, you told me to say it, right? We talked about this later?
Right as I was zipping the bag
You
closed.
said me that.
Oh, wait. And I shoved your head in, and then I pulled it back up like I've been told.
Yeah.
Wait, if he asks how old are you, or tell him, and then wait, and then say, "How old are you?" And you just nailed it. And Harry, of course, hadn't heard any of that. So the crowd was, though, I believe you started crying.
I started crying. Yeah.
And I was laughing.
Doing ventriloquism like a dog.
We have a tape of it, and it just everything goes south because there's just like a crying child on stage, and it's really bad. And then I believe at the end, it goes on for so long that they apologize to the Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, for him not coming out.
We met Frank Herbert. Also, backstage afterward, Harry said, "Okay, let's all go over to the Brown Derby to celebrate." And Eva said, "I didn't get my money yet." And I was going to get $100 and whatever it was. And Harry said, "Oh, they're going to send a check." And you said, "You always told me get the cash." Griffin's office, and you said, "I want my money." I had to get somebody to go find some money and pay you in cash.
So exhausting. I love it.
Eva, tell us about the name of your new game.
Oh, we just wrapped it, but I was doing an online game called Arcana that it was all playing on Instagram as a horror game for quarantine, and 2,000 people played it. We got a very cool write-up in the LA Times about it a week ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the left-handed league is as close as we all get together usually, but I mean, Martin, Mike, Tina, I mean, I'm the one furthest from that business, but everybody's still doing what we've always done. It's really quite amazing.
Yep.
And I guess I want to hear from Tina and Martin as well. Here are some more photos of the left-handed league. I think these are from the same show.
It's Phoenix, Arizona, right?
Yeah, Scottsdale, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Oh, the Scottsdale. Okay, yeah. I felt like it was Arizona. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the chicken, Mike?
That's a chicken. Yeah. That claw was a hen.
Oh, there's Sandy.
Oh, cool.
So that was the Halloween shows. I think some of these were the Halloween shows were just.
There's Mike Lacey at Caveney Magic Club.
Mike Lacey.
Yeah. Magic Club.
Wait, no, who?
Who's that?
That's Eva.
That's Eva.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's when you guys did the reunion show at Comedy Magic.
Oh, that's right. That was not the Halloween show, but
I think that was after Katrina. It was a fundraiser.
All right, good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And Mike Lacey, the world's nicest guy, next to Jay Johnson.
Yeah.
And a similar haircut. Maybe that's how it works.
Maybe.
Yeah.
In another life or something, but yeah. And I just saw, the saddest thing about what's happening today is somebody sent me a picture of the Comedy Magic Club all boarded up.
Yeah, I saw
what
it.
you have to do.
Terrible.
Just so.
Yeah. But it's just protective, right? I mean, they haven't had any problem.
Yeah. It's just preemptive. And I hope they don't, but it's a shame. A lot of places around here boarded up just for that reason. It's just.
Yeah, and I guess Martin, can you speak to a little bit about did everybody bring just their own acts to the Left-Handed League, or was it this collaborative effort when you guys put on a show together?
Well, like in the Bubonic Players, the stuff we did, that was a collaborative effort. We all sort of helped each other out. But I think the show we did in Scarsdale was we just did our own bits. Well, I don't know. Was there any exchanges between us? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Mike, don't you know not to work with children and dogs?
Yeah.
That puppy is adorable.
The puppy came in when I was sitting. Go ahead. Carry on.
And Mike, I heard that you and Jay, actually it was Mike, Tina, and Jay all did a bit together at the Magic Castle that is based solely on Jay's skill and not at all on Mike and Tina's.
That's right.
Still managed to fool everybody at the castle. So I wonder if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yes. I put this actually in my book. Nobody can do this unless they're friends with Jay Johnson. So this original idea came from Harry because he did something similar with Jay. But we changed it up a little bit. And the idea was I was going to demonstrate my mind reading abilities. The audience had not yet seen Jay Johnson perform, so they didn't know who he was. So I said, bring out my blindfold. And Jay comes out and he says, the blindfold's gone. They can't. I go, what are you talking about? Where's my blindfold? We can't find the blindfold. Tina had already done her mop act, so sitting in the wing was a bucket. I said, bring me that bucket. Give me that bucket. So Jay brought out the bucket, and I'll say, this will be my blindfold. Believe me, I can't see through steel. And I put the bucket on my head, and I said, Tina's going to go out in the audience. You bring out any object from your pocket. She'll hold it up, and I'll be able to tell what it is. So Jay, as you saw in the photo, is holding the microphone in front of the bucket. Tina went out, would borrow an item.
And I would make up a bunch of words like, tell me now quickly. What is the item? Can you tell me? And I would just make up all this stuff. And
yeah. So it sounded like the worst code act you've ever seen. And Jay, of course, is standing there looking right at the object. And with his ventriloquial voice,
he sounded like he was in a bucket.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but you swore that there was Mike in the bucket.
He would name the object. Now nobody knew what I sounded like with a galvanized steel bucket on my head. So they thought, well, that must be him. So we thought this would be hilarious. And everyone would go, oh, these people. So the first show is over and all our buddies come backstage and they go, wow, how long have you and Tina been working on a code act? And we're thinking, what? They didn't get it. So now we had to decide, are we going to make this into a joke or are we just going to do this? So we kind of did it for real. And I remember one good friend of mine called me the next day and said, I was driving home from the castle on the freeway. And I went, that was Jay talking. And he then figured it out. So it was unbelievable. And we thought, well, what do you have to do to get these people to figure out what we're doing? So Jay would, at the end, Tina would hold up, we had a bottle of beer planted out. She'd hold up a bottle of beer. And Jay would say, well, this is very difficult, very difficult. And then he would say, "Gottle of gear," which for any ventriloquist,
He didn't get it.
"Gottle of gear," and the audience would go, "That's fantastic!" And then after it was over, I would go off, and Jay said, "You ought to come here tomorrow night. Mike's going to do the whole act while drinking a glass of water." Still, they didn't get it. So that was a lot of fun, mainly because all I had to do was stand there and say nothing for 5 minutes, do a lot of picturing. And Tina had a gag with a telephone.
Oh, I said, I held up a phone and I said, can you describe this object, please, quickly? And he goes, it's not coming in very clearly. I said, AT&T, you're right.
Mike, that reminds me of your absolutely incredible, maybe the funniest single magazine story I ever read, the Southern California Unified Magicians piece in Weenie magazine. Anybody that doesn't have Weenie should
know. Convention report.
Southern California Unified, scum.
Yeah. And everybody's given a scumbag, as you wrote, and at the end of the middle of the act, you're standing in the crowd, they hold up you hold up a bag and say, am I holding a scumbag? The mentalist says you are surrounded by scumbags. So
You put a 45 record over each eye, and then a donut, and then you wrap your head in saran wrap, and you can see all and know all. Look what I just found in the basement.
Oh.
Weenie magazine sign from 1998.
Yeah, the official.
You know, we talked about putting on that convention with all the characters and all the acts, and the review said it took place at the Aztec Hotel in Monrovia, California, which still exists. It's the funkiest place you've ever seen, and we thought this would be great, but it was more fun to talk about than to actually do.
Yeah, that wouldn't really work at all.
Yeah, right.
And when Weenie came out, I mean,
shave.
there's definitely been, I mean, there are blogs and different things that parody magic, so I think it's gotten a little bit more accepted. But back then, can you speak to how controversial it was and how the magic community reacted to it?
Peter Pitt said, "You better have a lawyer," because he was positive that we were going to say Peter Pitt is gay, you know, like no one knew that. So he was terrified.
Wait, what?
And he thought that we were going to just piss off everybody in magic. Then it came out, and to make a long story short, Bill Larson's secretary, Gene Cantor, called us and said, "We'd like to sell these at the desk in the lobby at the castle. Can we buy a stack wholesale?" So you could buy Weenie right next to Genie at the Magic Castle.
We had some controversial characters in this. So one of the main one was there's Hitler here somewhere, and I can't remember what. This is backwards. I can't see it. Do you see Hitler? He's right.
Well, the whole border is all little caricatures.
But here's Ronald McDonald, and right above. Why can I not hold it in the right place? Because it's backwards.
Well, you can't really see it.
Okay. Anyway, all these funny characters, but somehow Hitler was a controversial.
Well, and you know who complained? Irene Larson, and we got that. We said, "Irene, you get to complain, nobody else."
They're on the side in the watchtower.
That's right. That's Irene always said. Someone was telling a joke, a Nazi joke, in the lobby of the Magic Castle, and he turned around, and there was Irene Larson. And she said, "You know, a little respect would go a long way here. For your information, one of my relatives died in a concentration camp in Germany during the war. And this guy just melted. He felt so bad." And then Irene said, "Well, he got drunk and fell out of a guard tower, but he did die."
That's her favorite joke.
Oh, I love that. She had a wicked sense of humor. I loved hanging out with her at the castle.
We were lucky on getting that color on that cover, the hot dog color for the cover, right?
You know the story of the color on this cover?
Yeah.
We had this printed at the same place out in Riverside, A to Z printers that printed Genie magazine. and Harry took all the artwork out there, and the guy said, "Wow, this looks like another magazine." And Harry said, "Don't worry, everybody's cool with it. Just print it." And the guy said, "What color do you want on the cover?" And Harry said, "Geez, I never thought of that." So he said, "I'll tell you what, just mix up some brown, ugly, so it looks like it was made from old hot dogs. Round up hot dog, brownish." So the guy mixed up this ugly brown color, printed the cover. Then a week later, it came time to print the new Genie magazine. And he thought, well, I don't want to clean the press. So if you look at Genie magazine, July 1982, I think a guy from Holland named Ted Beat is on the cover, and it's Weenie Brown on the cover of Genie magazine.
That's amazing. Guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us for this left-handedly reunion. As a fellow lefty, if you ever need a new member, I'm absolutely here for you.
Good.
Okay.
Now that we know Jay's not really left-handed, he's out and you're in, Harrison.
All right. I'll reprint the poster.
Good.
Party, you guys.
Wait, can you take a screenshot of this? Because I was trying to. Somebody take a screenshot so we have it.
Oh, absolutely. I'll send you all of the stuff.
Okay.
Jay, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3, smile.
heard it.
Harrison had the best smile.
But I wanted to thank you guys so much. Mike and Tina, thank you so much. Martin, thank you so much. Turk, thank you so much. Turk, we have one more quick thing with you because I know you went to Africa with Jay, so I want to briefly talk about that.
Thanks, Harrison. Great seeing you, Jay.
Martin, thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, Eva. See you, Martin.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
I love you all.
And we'll just put up this picture of because I know Turk and Jay were in Africa together supporting your cause. You do a lot of great charity work, Turk. So I want to make sure I plug that. So if you can tell us briefly about what you're doing so that we can direct people to helping the awesome cause that you're part of.
Well, Jay and Cindy, when we were all in Ireland with leaving Harry's ashes there, immediately after that, Jay and Sandy joined Christy and I for a trip to Kenya. For us, I think it's about my 40th trip to Kenya. But Jay had performed at our Nobility Project Gala in Austin, and he got to go with us to open some of the school's construction that we'd funded at the gala. And he killed at the gala, of course, because it's a very attentive audience of 400 and they're drunk as hell. And drunk and attentive is a good combination when you got Jay in the room. And but Jay killed in Kenya. It was so great. He had a big bag of tennis balls that he sliced open and was doing ventriloquism for huge crowds of kids at every school we went to, and left the balls for the kids. When he got to about 300 kids all around him and he couldn't move anymore, they were all dying laughing. He would like give them the balls and give them some eyes and things. There we go. And then he'd run away. And I'm not sure if he's generated a whole team of new ventriloquists over there. But I have to say, for my first trips to Kenya, the very first school we built, there ended up being a lot of comedians at this school who saw me early. I would go over and I didn't really know how to talk to the kids, and I would just juggle for them. And later they ended up being a lot of comedians and a lot of Charlie Chaplin fans. It's wild. But we had a great trip. Jay, thank you so much.
Turk, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And as I just put on the screen, if you want to support the Nobility Project, it's NOBELITY project.org. So make sure you check that website out.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Actually, Facebook's a good place to find us, too, because we're updated there all the time. Eva, it's so great to see you. Jay.
Good to see you, too.
Hey,
Turk,
Jay.
Oh, yeah. No, Turk, go for it.
Jay, you and I have had some great times, huh?
Yeah. Oh, we have.
Not today.
Not together.
Yeah.
No, not today.
Not on the internet.
Had some.
Yeah. Separately.
But we have individually had some good times.
Yeah, in other places. Yeah, okay. I just want to get that straight.
Thank you so much, Turk. I really, really appreciate it.
Bye.
And by the way, one of the things that's been so fun is as I've met everybody, almost everybody, and I think you should be proud of this, Jay, when I said, oh, do you have fun stories about Jay? They said, yes, but I don't know how many of them I can share publicly.
Well, that means it's a good story.
Yeah,
Every good story is, in my opinion.
And Eva, it's got to be awesome to have Jay as a godfather. Any parting thoughts? I know your families are so close, and it's really cool.
No, just the best godfather of all time. I'm so grateful to have had you in my life and to continue to have you in my life. I love you so much, Jay. You're amazing.
Love you, darling.
Aww.
Always will.
Mwah. Love you too.
There you are. Did you see that? You did.
Yeah, my mom dug that up.
Eva, thank you so much again. I really, really appreciate it. It means so much. Mwah. Stay safe and stay well.
Bye, guys. Stay safe.
And Jay, so that's a lot of special guests, but you are worth it.
A little bit. When everybody was on the screen, I took a screenshot, and from that moment on, the sound was always. And to know how impressed I really am. Oh my God, this is great.
Oh yeah, no, you watch it back. I promise. Everybody was fantastic.
I can't believe you pulled this together, Harrison. I really can't. How sweet of you to do this, because
it's my pleasure, truly. And as we wrap up every episode, there are always young entertainers who are watching it. A lot of them are magicians. Some of them are in the allied arts. What recommendations do you have suggestions for these young performers as they begin and pursue their career?
Well, the best advice I ever got was from Ted Knight, who was a ventriloquist as well as an actor. And he said, get in front of as many audiences and in many places and many times as you can. The audience is what's going to teach you that. So never turn down a chance to perform, and do it as many times as often as you can. And either you'll love it or you hate it. And every time you do it, you'll get better. So that's my advice.
That's awesome. Jay, thank you so much for doing this. Can't thank you enough. I love you so much. I will talk to you very soon. Please stay safe and stay well. Send my love to Sandy and the kids as well.
I will. Back in Emily. You're the best.
No, you are, man. I love you. Mwah. I'll talk to you soon.
You bet.
Jay Johnson, everybody. I love that man so much. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Who Books That. Next week, our episode is our 20th episode. So please tune in. That's going to be a very special episode. This show is every Wednesday at 7 p.m. or 4 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. You can also download this episode and all the other previous episodes as a podcast at whobookstat.com, or you go to Apple Music, search for Who Books That with Harrison Greenbaum. It'll pop right up. This show is presented, as always, by the International Brotherhood of Magicians. A huge thanks to them. You can sign up with magician.org/join the IBM/join. Thank you guys so much. Please stay safe, stay well. My name is Harrison Greenbaum. This has been an incredible opportunity and an incredible time. So thank you so much for sharing this with me. Shout out to literally all the people who've been watching around the world. Hi, Terry. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Jeff. Dave, talking about the good advice from Jay. I agree. Steve, Donald Chase with all of the applause. Thank you guys so much. We have people watching as far as Australia, people as close as New York. So thank you guys so much for watching. We can't do this without you. And we'll see you here next week, next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Harrison Greenbaum, and this has been Who Books That?